to all the ungovernable misfits. Today we have a very special episode for you.
Alright, you ungovernable misfits. I'm your host, AI Max, powered by Jordan. Everybody knows that Bitcoin is useless, but you know who else is? That British cunt that usually does this podcast. He's been sending voice notes of his wretched voice the past couple days, so I told him I'd save the day while he whinged in the hospital. Hopefully that retard makes his return soon, because we have podcasts to do. Anyways, let's get started. Everybody knows that Bitcoin is useless, worthless, and doomed to fail. But what if everyone's wrong? What if it's the system that is doomed to fail? Join me as I speak to some of the brightest people in the space and slither to the deepest, darkest depths of the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Welcome back to the show. Today we have a special interview with Ashigaru. It is titled 100 Spears, 100 Pieces. You may be asking yourself, what does that mean? It comes from Asakura Toshikage. Around the year 1480, he wrote a 17-article house law. One excerpt stated, "Do not excessively covet swords and daggers made by famous masters." Even if you can own a sword or dagger worth 10,000 pieces, hiki, equivalent of 10 mon, it can be overcome by 100 spears each worth 100 pieces. Therefore, use the 10,000 pieces to procure 100 spears and arm 100 men with them. You can, in this manner, defend yourself in time of war. These words reflect the nature of this interview, and as it will become clear that this team is not in pursuit of the grandiose, but to build the spears that are accessible to the common users. Before we start, I want to thank every one of our listeners that are now listening on Podcasting 2.0 apps. The majority of the misfits are on Fountain, but there are also others on AntennaPod, Podcast Guru, Podverse, and many others. So, if you haven't already, get yourself a new podcast app at podcastapps.com. Time, talent, and treasure are important parts of the show dynamic. Every time we get a misfit streaming some sats, boosting the episode, sending a Paynim transaction, or dropping an XMR chat, it's a great feeling. So thank you for your treasure and returning value back to the show. If you have time to help out the show with things such as engaging on social media with a question or helping spread the show to family and friends, that value is much appreciated. And don't forget, if you're an artist, come up with some evergreen art for the show. If you're a music producer, help us with some segment jingles for the Bitcoin Brief or Action News. We put the value out there in the form of this show and ask you to return, in kind, the value that you think it is worth. I also want to say a huge thank you to Foundation Devices. Foundation Devices help keep this show running, and they do things properly. Everything they do is fully open source. Their hardware is absolutely beautiful, and it is fuckwit resistant. I use this all the time. I have no issues with it. I don't manage to break it like everything else. It is piss easy to use, and that's what you want from your hardware. You don't want to be worrying, getting scared, and making mistakes with your life savings. You can use their companion app, Envoy, which makes labeling very simple. You can do backups that are encrypted, so you keep all of your labels, or you can use this with Sparrow. It really is the best hardware out there. And if you are scared to do this by yourself, you can go to any of the guides out there that make it very simple. They have them all on the website as well. And if even that is too much for you, you can pay an extra $99 and you can have Bitcoin Q&A himself hold your hand and walk you through the process. Check them out at foundation.xyz/ungovernable for $10 off a Foundation passport. On December 16th, Foundation is going beyond the hardware wallet and venturing into the realm of personal security. Join them on the 16th for a live stream at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and see how they are going to revolutionize the space. And last but not least, the newest partner of the Ungovernable Misfits team, which is Cake Wallet. They support a lot of grassroots projects in the Bitcoin and Monero ecosystems, and we thank them for adding us to that stable. For those of you who actually use Bitcoin and actually care about their privacy and security, Cake Wallet make it incredibly simple for you to live outside of the traditional financial system. You can use Cake Pay within the app to buy gift cards for food, petrol, and whatever else you might need day to day. You can use silent payments. And of course, you can use Monero. You can connect both Bitcoin and Monero nodes, use coin control. And this team are constantly innovating. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me, but check them out at cakewallet.com. Download the APK and start using this today on Mac, Windows, Linux, iPhone, or of course, your Android device. So, how was AI Max? Was the intro good? How were the sponsor bits? Let me know in the boosts, and as always, enjoy the show.
Hello? You can hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, thanks for coming on, mate.
No problem, sure.
I just wanted to mention to the listeners that the person I'm speaking to will be using a voice changer for this discussion. This is to protect their identity, and this is extremely sad. The people who build the tools and protect others are attacked and falsely labelled as criminals. The real criminals are the ones writing the laws, attacking good people, eroding our freedoms, spying on us, and stealing our time. We wouldn't need these tools to protect us if it wasn't for these parasites. But here we are, and I wanted to say before we jump in, regardless of how privacy advocates like you are labelled, to me, and I'm sure I speak for my listeners as well, what you're doing is incredible, and we're grateful for what you've built. Welcome to the show.
On behalf of rest of the Ashigaru open source project, thank you for taking time to listen to what we have to say and appreciate time to be invited onto your podcast. Thank you.
What shall I call you? Ashigaru Dev or?
Ashigaru Dev, that is fine. But there are more than one, but for this conversation, it is fine.
Okay, cool. I want to respect your privacy, so if at any point I ask a question that you're not comfortable with or that in any way could jeopardize the project, you just tell me and I'll make sure that that bit is taken out. I want to say a big thank you from me and all the listeners for coming on. It's a great honor to have you on here. I believe this is the first podcast you've done, and it's something that I've discussed a lot on the Bitcoin briefs with Q&A and behind the scenes with many others. There's been this massive void since everything happened with Samourai. And once we saw Ashigaru Wallet pop up, there was a little glimmer of hope in what otherwise was very, very dark. It's been lovely for me as someone who has used Samourai Wallet from pretty much the beginning of getting into Bitcoin to see what you've done and how things have changed is really, really nice. Like there's a nostalgia about it, but there are some serious upgrades as well. I've been using it on testnet just to have a play around. A lot of the post-mix spend stuff, a lot of the like warnings that you've put in there, the updates to paynims and everything else. So I just want to stress to anyone listening to this, this is not just a carbon copy. There's a lot of work clearly that's gone into this, and I've really, really enjoyed using it. So I guess before we sort of go any further, what's the reason for you doing what you've done and sticking your neck out? And I understand it's not just you, there are others as well, but what's led you to create Ashigaru Wallet?
So really, we are just like you. We Samourai users for like long time already, many, many years. And for many, many years, many of us are Java devs, Java developer, or have familiarity with Kotlin. And we would sometimes, even for previous releases, make changes for ourselves on the wallet, like small things. Before like stealth update, we would do small things like change logo on the app, this kind of thing. So for us, we have some familiarity with the application, but obviously when the development team stopped, we realized that there were some things in the application that it is, how to say, they not work so well with these services that now not there anymore. So for us, we can make some small improvements and hopefully some bigger improvements in the future, but really we just start to do this for ourselves first, and then we later realize that maybe other people will find this useful too. And then after that, we make websites, but we had already called ourselves Ashigaru as more like joke between ourselves from me and my friends, the other developers. Two things I would point out or highlight for your listeners is that, yes, we make some improvements and do changes in the wallet. this is our work. But secondly, there is also still Samourai work in the wallet that other people had not seen. And Samourai, they develop in quite open way. So if you have copy of their GitHub or their GitLab, you could take copy and you could compile app before it is even fully released. For things like the postmix send screen, these things actually Samourai had already built, but we were able to bring them to life and for users to then use it directly. We make other changes like around Dojo connection and paynims, but there is also still much work from Samourai in our website, in our application here that, yes, it has an Ashigaru brand name, but much work from both teams.
Yeah, and one of the big reasons I wanted to have this discussion was, Ashigaru is talked about, but because you don't have such a large online presence and it doesn't seem to me like you use any social media or anything like that, it was really for me to bring to as many people attention as possible that, there is this incredible wallet that can be used now. It does have some really, really nice features on it. My hope is to build some trust because, yes, this is open source and anyone who's technically minded or very technically minded, they could review the code and they can be comfortable that, okay, there's nothing malicious here and, that they're not going to cause themselves any problems. But for many fuckwits like me who have absolutely no skills as a developer, can barely read English, let alone code, we have to rely on other people. We have to build up some trust over time. And that's something that I built up with the Samourai community and developers. And I think a lot of people are sat probably on the sidelines because, unlike me, don't have someone like Q&A who I can just go and pick their brains constantly, or others behind the scenes who I can pick their brains and say, look, is this good? Like, am I endangering myself here? And I think people will be sort of waiting. And I just wanted there to be the opportunity for you guys to have this discussion and people to know that, okay, we might not know who the human beings behind this are, but they are here for a reason. And I don't know, maybe you could elaborate a little bit on the reasons you're doing what you're doing and ways maybe that people can build trust in what you're doing.
This was good reason to come onto your podcast. Some weeks ago, we came under attack, possibly DDoS, like bot attack on our site. And we were not aware immediately, but we saw even on social media that some people were already concerned that maybe we were disappearing just because website was no longer there for a short period of time. So we understand that we can describe what we are about on the website, but sometimes people also do not always read. We write blog posts. We spend quite a lot of time use AI to make English sound better. We know that is important to get like legitimacy in project. But also we think that if people hear on podcasts that there is actual human beings behind project, they will get more comfort. This will take time. We are not in huge rush. We are already actually quite encouraged by what people say and reaction. It is actually better than we expected. So we hope that more people will use, but we also understand that this will take time. We listened to podcasts before, Watchman Privacy, and this is first time I have listened to that podcast, but as they do podcast about Ashigaru, about trust, I will say that pretty much everything that they say in that podcast is good advice for a new user. If you are not comfortable, do not use the wallet. If you have familiarity with code, then you should get comfort sooner. If not, but you know someone else that can review code, then maybe you use it. Maybe you try it with testnet, then you try with mainnet, and then you get more comfort. The other thing that we saw, which we were actually quite surprised, is that a user on X, John, I think French person, he did AI code review of wallet. Now this AI code review is not perfect. In fact, it highlight that us using Tor only was security issue potentially. In our next update, we will be making wallet even more dependent on Tor. But nevertheless, the AI code review managed to break down many of the changes that we make to the original code base very accurately. And you can get a much better idea of what risk is from various change we make in the wallet. It is not just if we malicious. It is also if we are actually good coders. That is also a risk that users have to think, but it will take time. And if we do more good releases and the releases offer a good functionality to our users, then we have no doubt that we will build up more faith in the wallet and the team, even if those users do not know who we are. But it is probably obvious to you because you can hear my voice now. I'm not me personally. I am not part of Samourai communities. We just use the wallet ourselves. Even if I did put my actual name out here, it would not make difference anyway because no one would know me. So really, it is the same risk. New team, you have to preserve faith. But this time, if you have faith in development team, you now trust PGP key and work that comes and is signed from PGP key, not just by real person name.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's perfect. And what the guys at Watchmen did was great, breaking it down in that way. I like to think, at least, if people are sat on the sidelines and maybe people listening to this, that they would feel comfort in the fact that other people are reviewing this who we know very well. They can run it in testnet and have a play around. And then it just comes down to time is the only other factor. Trust will be built over time as the good work goes out there. But I have to say, I've been really impressed. It's been really nice to be using this. And the changes that you talked about, like when I'm going onto the send screen, that's a big improvement. I think you might have said, or someone might have said to me, that that was actually work that was already in the hopper from Samourai and that you guys have pushed. But having the nextblock.is thing in there and, like a breakdown of how you're doing a spend and all this kind of stuff is just really slick. It's a big improvement.
Thank you. It is very good to have such feature because we can add to that feature even later with extra warnings as users use it. So for us, it is good because we do not have to think of completely new feature. We can add to something already existing and still give users a wallet that they are familiar with in terms of the way it works. I would say in terms of the work we did the most, it was mostly around syncing for importing wallet because we were concerned with connections you make via a BIP 47. We improve this flow and we make it so that users can migrate as much as possible. So this is probably the work we spend most time getting right, and we actually feel we make quite few improvements over Samourai app there.
You definitely have. I was actually saying this to someone the other day. It felt a lot smoother and quicker. And the other thing that I noticed was you seem to have removed the fees, the connection fees. So I connected to a couple of paynims and did some test transactions. And I was like, oh, these fees look really, really low. And it was just a minor fee.
Yes, we follow example of Sparrow. It is also serves as encouragement for users to go to Ashigaru because we want to encourage users to come from Samourai. So give small monetary incentive for them to move over and give more consistent user experience with other similar wallet.
It's just the little touches, that was something I noticed that makes quite a big difference if you're connecting to lots of people, and being able to label them was another thing where I was like, oh, that's a nice feature. I'm sure that wasn't possible in the Samourai that I was running, not having to remember, oh, who was that again? What was that paynim? It's nice just to be able to put your own notes on there. And just the paynims in general, I think they're fun, they're cool. I like that they're different. It's refreshing.
We are proud of resident artists that do Pepe hash paynim. I think he used to use rare Pepes from many, many years ago in Bitcoin, and this inspired for replacement paynim. We were actually quite nervous of moving new paynim scheme, but we could not replicate the old scheme. We tried. It is server-side logic as far as we can understand. Even though much of the code there was open source, the actual algorithm for selecting image and name we could not replicate. So for us, we improve labeling on NOM so you can have both new and old name to assist users with migration. That is why we spend time doing the label improvement there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I had a question on that actually. As I was doing it, I was like, you know how you have like the separate website where people would go and claim their paynims? Is there any way that you could search Paynim's directory within the wallet at any point? So if I knew someone, if someone's, I don't know, Cheerful Frog or something like that, I can start searching that and then it would come up with their Paynim and I could connect.
We would like to improve our UX around PayNYM more. I think we could make improvement for searching. I would be reluctant to do website in app because in app Tor browser is a little not so responsive for users' experience. But yes, this is definitely something we would like to do.
Yeah, that would be cool. Because Paynims it always surprised me how few people outside the sort of Samourai Wallet and now obviously Ashigaru groups, how few people actually use it. And it's so nice once you're connected to someone. It's so much easier than fucking around with QR codes and sending new addresses and all this kind of stuff. And then how are you going to send it? You're going to do it over something that maybe might not be secure. It's just so much slicker and so much nicer.
When we begin this project, Samourai have many, many different services. We could not do obviously everything, but when we looked at the wallet and what we could preserve, we were most worried about Paynims. Last month, Samourai URL or the Paynim.is expire, no longer under their control. So we worried that with that gone, users would use BIP47 even less because Paynim really helped BIP47 UX. But what we do is we actually buy, after expiry, old Paynim server, not Paynim server, Paynim URL, and direct it to our new Paynim server. This will help preserve wallets that still keep old connection. We can have that and ensure that they still have Paynims functional in wallet like Sparrow.
Yeah, that's very nice. And sort of along the lines of BIP47, have you got any thoughts around potentially adding silent payments? Again, a lot of the Samurai community aren't so keen on them. They do prefer BIP47, but I kind of look at it as like it's also a useful tool. Is it something you would ever have interest in?
We actually had email from developer who offered to build silent payments into Ashigaru, and he said, would we be ready to accept it? Our response, we do not really look into silent payments.
Mm-hmm.
There is not much adoption and we do not see much use. But we asked this developer, but why do you want to add silent payments to the wallet? And response is mostly because it is additional tool. But this is not reason to add new functionality into the wallet just because it is other tool. For us, what we are interested in is what does it actually bring to the user? Let me put this other way. Rather than looking at how you put solution in, you think first, what is your problem? So BIP47, it is not perfect, but maybe if you have problem with BIP47, you can think, how would you solve that problem rather than adding whole new protocol? So if you do not like doing connection transaction, maybe contribute code to our wallet that would not need connection transaction and maybe make use of Soroban server for communication, for storing data. If, for example, you like to use cold wallet with BIP47, which is not straightforward now, maybe you could look at pairing information between online wallet, like online Ashigaru, and Sentinel wallet. You could do that. That would give you functionally many of what would be potentially problems with BIP47 now. Secondly, if we were to add to BIP47, can you imagine what that would look like in the app? I do not know, but it is extra UX work for sure. You now have two different payment schemes. The user will potentially get confused as to which one to use under which circumstance, which user uses which tool. Do we do type, logo, or avatar, as we call it, for silent payments? I do not know. But you can tell these are actually quite big questions when you look at how it would apply to mobile app. So for us, this is more our approach. It is not issue with silent payments, although it is also has downside. It is more, what can we add to the wallet right now that gives user meaningful change?
It makes sense. And also, if someone wants to use silent payments, they can spin up another wallet and they can do that in there. I understand what you mean. It's nice to have something that's clean. If someone is thinking about these sort of things and, like you said, working on making some changes so that things would run smoother and they're experienced. What's the best way for someone like that to potentially reach out and collaborate with you guys?
Sure. We like the way this developer contacted us. He requests access to our Gitia. We give him online account, and then we say to him, you can look at issues that other users have already raised. There is none now. I will be clear at the moment, no issues yet. But if users start to raise issues, or even if developer want to contribute code, everything should start with issue first. Identify issue, set up account on our Gitia. When you identify issue, you then propose solution. We can then discuss. And then if you provide code, provide pull request, we can then look to integrate. But better to do it that way than expect us to just accept code contribution, because we have our own plans with the wallet. And unlike Samourai, we do not have as open development process. And this is because we feel that it opens you up to more competition, more attack. We need to keep these, like cards close to your chest on some. Although all our code will be open, and when we release application, it will always be open source. What we plan and what we do first, we keep this within small team only, and this team will not change. We are many, many years, we know each other. We will not accept outsiders.
So at the moment, when someone's downloading Ashigaru, you've got to do that through the Tor browser, fully understand why you do it that way. Is there any way that you can see the amount of users that you have when it's done that way compared to using something like F-Droid or anything like that? Is there a way that you can see how many users you're actually getting on board?
Actually, with Gitea, even you can see how many downloads of application has been made. Last I checked, it is almost 3,000 downloads of application. We cannot actually see how many users or how often users use the wallet because we have no tracking, but this is already encouraging that there is this many users. The other potential way which we could understand how many users are using the wallet is to look at how many paynim claim. Not every user will claim paynim, but there will be some. And we can guess from there how many active users there are in the wallet.
3,000 is a lot. I have to say I'm quite surprised with that. That's a lot of downloads.
I promise you that we have not been downloading from our own website to pump numbers.
That's very encouraging to hear. And like you say, there are other ways to track it, like the paynims. That's very, very cool.
It is not easy way to download app. We actually reach out to developer of a Crescent app. It is app that is bundled with Graphene OS. Actually, this Graphene OS on social media say we should use this app rather than complex download instructions. But we email them. They initially respond, then ignore us for the last 2 months. So we are not that hopeful that we will get onto Central App Store. We rely on users either using Tor browser to get application or download from other source, such as being sent over Messenger. But of course, if the user receives from a friend or from location that is not from our site, they have to be much, much more careful with APK. They should check with signature on our website and verify that it is verified. But for the moment, I suspect that it will be not available on Central App Store for much time.
And this Central App Store that you said isn't responding to you, is that the App Store separately, or is that Graphene that aren't responding to you?
We have not reached out to Graphene. Graphene bundles other app store that works well with Graphene's security model. It is a very, very small app store. Developer did say it is kind of closed. I don't know if closed beta, but it is not ready yet for many, many apps. But still, it would seem to us that this is perfect fit for Ashigaru because we are obviously not going to go to Play, Google Play Store. We provide custom paynim for Graphene OS as well and make sure that they are visible to be donated to as we use their phones for our testing.
Okay. And how does that work now? In the olden days, when you wanted a custom paynim, you just reached out to Samourai. Is it the same now? Someone would try and reach out to you guys, or is there a different way of doing it?
We do initial batch of custom paynims for open source projects and like charity, just to be fair and provide some continuity. For new users that want custom, they can reach out, they can email us at our contact details. We will probably get them to do verification that they control address, but we are quite open to, within reason, giving users custom paynim. What I will say though is if we have contribution from people in community, we'd like to thank them with custom paynim. We ask our resident artists to do custom pepe hash. We are very proud, so if you would like, as I thank you for inviting us to your podcast, we would be honored to give you custom pepe. We have already got in draft custom pepe for users that do video guides like BTC sessions. We had very, very nice, beautiful paynim for him. And also Ketan, he'd do video guide for running dojo. We do custom paynim for him as well. So we will do this over next few days.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate that. I would love to have a custom paynim. And I would just say to anyone who is going to reach out to the Ashigaru team, if you are requesting a paynim and maybe you haven't done anything to donate to the project, it'd be worth sending some sats their way for the work they're doing. So if you're going to ask for something like that, just make sure you donate. We touched on it just briefly there, talking about Katan and his guide running a dojo. I had a message. Would they consider running a centralized dojo in the future for users unable to run a node? I think I probably know the answer to this, but I'm asking it anyway.
We will not normally say what we will do or not do for this project, but for central dojo, it is not something we will do. We like how to say. It is problem in our wallet at the moment that user has to have their own dojo. We are aware we cost ourselves many, many users by not having easy connection to already existing dojo. What I will say though, we are not against users connecting to dojos that they do not host themselves if they are comfortable with risk. What we would like to see, it cannot be us, but what we would like to see is maybe federation or community of dojo that is run, possibly being even charged for. If we could provide selection of dojos in different jurisdiction or through certain trusted LM, this would be acceptable for Ashigaru, but we will not run website like that. We will not be involved in running nodes. We do not want to be centralization risk for our users. So if we disappear, they have different provider for their node. But also if their provider for their node disappear, they still have a wallet and can maybe move to other dojo, but it not all go at the same time.
I think that's very wise. I assumed you would say that. If someone's listening and they don't have a friend or family member who's already running a dojo, what would be your recommendation in terms of hardware? I know a lot of people are just running vanilla dojo on Nook or like these little mini PCs and things like that. Because anyone who's listened to this show long enough will know I've had a lot of issues in the past, either running on hardware that wasn't up to scratch or having hardware failures on vanilla dojos and Ronin dojos. What I'd like is that someone who listens to this episode who thinks, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to actually set myself up with a dojo, I'm going to start using this. I want them just to do it once and not have any problems. What would be your recommendation?
We like our mini PC or laptop or even larger desktop PC. These are the best hardware for dojo. These can be old hardware, not necessary for new machine. Can be 5, many years old, it is okay. Just have to be more powerful really than maybe like Raspberry Pi. We find that not really powerful enough, and it also affect wallet too. Wallet make many calls to dojo. If dojo is slow, not responsive, affect wallet UX. If for like me, my electricity is not the most reliable, I run dojo on laptop, on ThinkPad laptop, because it includes battery. But if your electricity is very reliable, then no need laptop. Just run mini computer, mini server, or desktop computer. This is fine.
Yeah, all these little Eton power supply things for if the electricity drops, if you're running like a little mini PC. That's what I was running on my Tanto. Had one of those plugged in. It's always a good thing to have. So basically, you don't need to go crazy on the hardware. but you're going to want to upgrade to like 1 terabyte NVMe or something like that. 2 terabyte.
Actually, yes, 2 terabytes, because if you have desktop OS, not server like GUI OS, more space. Fulcrum, much more space. 2 terabytes required, maybe total cost, good deal, $300 equivalent, but maybe 400. But you should not need to spend more time with more money than that.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. That's good advice. As you said, if you have a friend or family member or someone you trust who's running one and you can link to that, consider that just while you start using it. That's what I'm doing currently.
We would like to see pre-built nodes supporting Dojo more or better. We have emailed Umbrel. We have emailed MyNode to ask them, can you please update your Dojo version? It is so old. It caused problem. It leads to bad experience in wallet. We get no response. This is other reason we do podcast today. It is to tell users that if you have problem with you are existing customer of these providers, please, if you are in their Telegram group or their forum, please, if you want it, you raise it with them. We have tried, but we have been ignored.
Have you tried with Start9 yet?
We have not. It is a good node.
I've tried a couple of times, and I think the response was, we're looking at it and that it might be in their sort of community app layer thing. But that would be a good one. That's what I'm running at the moment. A lot of people are running Start9, and it's pretty good. I found it pretty decent. So it'd be nice to see that in there. But like you say, the Umbrel one that's in there is fucking useless. And MyNode I haven't tried for a long time, but I think I had similar issues with that. So, I think ideal world, if someone is a heavy user, they should probably just think about building something that is purpose built and just does one job and does it properly. But it would definitely open you up to more people if something like a Start9 had it. I'll mention it again.
Thank you. We try very hard on documentation to make it as easy to follow as possible. Our original GitHub with Dojo documentation can be challenging for a user, so we run through, but our BTC sessions guide, Catan guide, almost follow our guide to the same level. These are not easy, but it is possible for anyone that is motivated.
I can confirm I am so fucking technically illiterate, and I've managed it in the past, so 99% of the listeners here are going to be more technical than me and could easily do it. It's not that hard. If people like me aren't that techie, is there any way that they can help the project? Can they contribute in some way other than the technical side? You mentioned you've got someone working on artwork. Is there anything else that you need?
User issue, like bug, like question. This is what we need. We have come across users make comments on social media about us, most of the time positive, but in some cases users or non-users probably say questions or make allegation. Please, if you want answer, do not post on social media for answer. Just email the project if you see issue. Get added to our Gitea. If you write issue, if you send email, we may not do everything that you ask, but we will always respond at least. This is our method. We think this is reasonable. But user bugs, user issues, these are all useful things. Obviously, donations to the project are appreciated, but this is not expected. It is appreciated, but not expected. Most useful for us is that we get a user feedback and directly to us as soon as possible, and then we can look at it.
What do you think Samourai Wallet and T-Dev would think of your project?
I think we are all nervous of what they feel. We hope they see this as a monument to their work. We do not want to market ourselves as improved samurai or better samurai or anything like that. Everything we build here is standing on shoulders of the giants. This is what we hope they see. Maybe when they get through their problem, we will hear what they think. But everything that we do here, we are sensitive to the legacy that they leave to be with us. So we hope, but we cannot know. We do not know them.
I'm sure they would be very impressed with what you guys have done. And I'm sure we'll find out soon. And I'd like to just point anyone who's listening now, just a reminder to use #FreeSamurai in your posts to raise awareness. And there's a link in the show notes if you want to donate. It's a very important cause. When I was first getting involved in using Samourai Wallet, early days, Samourai had a lot of haters. Probably the most impressive haters I've seen. One of the things that was thrown at them, it was explained to me that this really wasn't so much of an issue, but was reproducible builds. Is your app reproducible?
We leave reproducible instructions on our Gitia. It should be as an app, reproducible, but I will explain some further things to consider. Number one, for us, it is probably easier to be reproducible than for Samourai, because some challenges with reproducibility were because maybe APK on Play Store, not exactly the same as APK on GitLab or APK release in F-Droid. For us, APK only from one source, no play, no other signature, much, much easier to be reproducible. However, one thing that we saw when we were looking at reception as of our app, as to how people felt, we see users look at reproducibility. Some users say able to reproduce, others have criticism. We realized that one component of our code include a pre-compiled binary. It is not risk from our perspective. It is not a problem. But because it exists on our development environment, we did not see that that library would be problem for reproduce. But work being done at the moment for the next release will read the components of that code, so users will not need to see existing binary. What I mean here is that if users were not entirely happy about our reproducibility steps, we will have improvements. But also, if the users still are not happy on 1.1 version, then they should email us, not talk about it on social media, where we will not see and where we cannot answer questions.
Yeah, definitely. One more question, which again, I think I know the answer, but I keep getting asked it. Whirlpool, is there any chance that you or somebody else, or any ideas or different ways of doing something so that somebody who opens up the app and doesn't already have postmix could experience the pure joy of actually having privacy in Bitcoin? Because there is a massive hole that has been left when I'm advising people for privacy on Bitcoin. It is a lot more complicated than it was just a few months ago. Are there ideas that you guys have to help people break links and not be tracked going forward?
There are two questions here mainly. I will start with the last one now. Without Whirlpool, privacy for the on-chain Bitcoin is difficult. To break links, it is not as reliable now that we do not have Whirlpool. There are many ways which users can still break links, but they do not have the same properties as something like Whirlpool. You can use Monero and do atomic swap, even though Samourai's atomic swap app is no longer working. There is also other non-custodial atomic swap app for the Bitcoin and Monero, which users can use. The other thing that we would encourage is for users to use peer-to-peer coin joins, which, although they may not break links entirely as well as Whirlpool, when we create Ashigaru, I say earlier we want to provide incentive for users to move from Samourai to Ashigaru. Before, I mentioned no payment fee. Also, because we host Soroban server, users can do quick and easy peer-to-peer coin joins. These should not be forgotten about. They should be used with existing postmix. Plus, they can also be used in conjunction with a wallet that is being used in many, many peer-to-peer transactions where you are not providing details or you are not feeling that environment is hostile for surveillance. These peer-to-peer coin joins are very, very useful when used subsequent or prior to atomic swap. Now, to your first question on Whirlpool, we are mostly front-end dev. We already have quite much work with existing wallet and to make improvements on wallet. We will not say never, but to do something like Whirlpool, to host, to operate service, plus to maintain mobile app, this is quite a lot. We obviously use Whirlpool ourselves. We would like to see Whirlpool in an app, but we also have to think carefully about too much centralization with our team. If we are doing app plus operating Whirlpool server, etc., etc., we hope that other developers and contributors can continue different parts of Stack over the next few months, next few years. For example, the dojo project, the Samurai Dojo project, it has nothing to do with Ashigaru. We will use it. We will stay compatible with it. We will make sure the wallet keeps up to date with connecting to Dojo, but entirely separate project staffed by former Samourai Wallet developer. Similarly, Sentinel project, also independent project, former Samourai developer, they continue this on. In ideal world, we will see. But we would like to see OXT come back. Plus, we would like to see Whirlpool, and maybe we could connect to Whirlpool. But we are concerned that if we were to do too much, if for whatever reason we disappear, it leaves once again big hole in the space. But we will see how this goes. It is challenging.
No, that makes total sense. I like the idea of it being more decentralized, and we've all seen anyone who actually used Bitcoin and actually transacted this hole in everyone's privacy and security and spending was massive. I mean, to the point where when people are asking me now, oh, well, how do I transact privately with Bitcoin? I'm like, if you're new, pretty much just use Monero and switch in and out. If you're relatively sophisticated, use some of the spending tools that you've got in Ashigaru and other wallets. Use your collaborative transactions. There's some clever stuff you can do with Lightning for sending, but it's also easy to fuck yourself up. And when people really actually need to make sure that they're not being tracked, I worry basically about just like giving this elaborate, do this, then do that, but make sure you've got this, and you're going to fuck yourself if you don't do this, and they're a new user.
It is challenging.
It makes me look back and just think how lucky we were. We were blessed that, you know, from the beginning of me getting into Bitcoin, I could use those tools, and it would be great to see them come back. Until then, we all have to tread a bit carefully. But I suppose, I wanted to just round things out by again thanking you and your team for sticking your head above the parapet and building what you're building. I've really enjoyed using it and testing it. I'll continue doing that. Hopefully we can keep the conversation open. Hopefully some people listen to this and want to do some testing as well. But again, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much. One thing that we will do, we discuss in team, we will open source our image assets, provide the SVG files. So if you want to use logo, if you feel more comfortable with Ashigaru, we appreciate underground marketing. We cannot do this ourselves. We will not be doing this, but we do not want shills. We do not want people telling people that they're not ready for our wallet to use our wallet. But if you feel comfortable, if you enjoy the wallet, we appreciate spreading the message, because we as developers, we like our code to be used. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining me, and hopefully we will speak again soon. If any listeners have any questions, reach out on the email. If you have any bugs or any issues you find, don't go onto social media and bleat on there. That's not what we want. We want to try and help and build this project. So, yeah, thanks again, mate. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that. If your interest is piqued, consider using a Tor connection to access ashigaru.rs and download the APK. We are working on creating a meetup presentation that guides users to get started with a testnet for wallet on Ashigaru. Depositing coins from testnet fountains, claiming and adding paynims, coin control, spending tools, etc. If you would like to present this to your local meetup, hit us up at ungovernablecrew@protonmail.com. And if you haven't already checked out the website, ungovernablemisfits.com, it's well worth taking a look. We have articles, podcasts, clothing, and artwork. Thanks again for all the support. Thank you, Ashigaru Dev, for trusting us with your team's message, and I'll catch you on the next one.